Hi, welcome to Teaching Moments. My name is Hillary. Today I'm going to talk to you about a big topic, something I hear homeschool moms talk about a lot, and that is daily schedules, how to schedule your homeschool day. All right, so very big topic. This varies a lot by seasons of life, number of kids, any special needs you guys have, your family situation, and it continues to change. Like we have done several different schedules just this year. So it's a never ending thing that you have going on with your daily schedule and how to schedule. So let's jump right into it because there is a lot to cover. And let me just say, if you guys have any questions, if you want to know, because this could go off onto many different topics, many branches, but I'm going to try to stay focused here and keep it just with the schedules. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments, and I will try to answer them either through a video or through a comment, or point you in a direction of somebody who can help you out. So because there's so many different families and so many different situations, everybody's schedule is going to vary, according to each other's. So just do what's best for you, but it's always good to get some ideas off of each other. All right, so I'll give you an idea of how I do one. One viewer had asked me one time how I schedule Barton Reading in with all the other subjects. So if you don't know, I homeschool all four of my children. They are in 3rd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, and 11th grade. All four of them have dyslexia, and we have been using the Barton Reading and Spelling curriculum to teach them how to read and to spell. And we love it. It's been really good, but it is kind of time intensive. But it's totally worth it to me because it helps them to read. So I'm going to go through and try to show you how I do it and maybe give you some ideas. The very first thing that I do is pray. I am a person of faith, and I just couldn't do parenting or homeschooling or my marriage or anything without prayer. I don't know how people do it without praying and without having a faith in the Lord, because He helps. And time again, He has guided me on how to homeschool my kids, whether it be with a certain subject or whether it be with the schedule. He's just come through time and time again. So I say prayer is certainly number one. Number two, I am quite protective of my homeschool hours. So I would rather be fully engaged and devoted to just a few things outside of my homeschool day than have myself scattered through many things. Because if I give a sliver of myself to a whole bunch of things, to everything, then I end up getting cranky and crabby, and I just get stretched too thin, and I don't want to go there. I'd rather be focused on what I want to do. So because of that, I only allow us to have one, maybe two things per week on our homeschool schedule during our homeschool hours that are outside of our homeschool hours. So that could be like a co-op or a Bible study or some other kind of like a dance class or a tennis class or something like that. So like I said, one, maybe two, depends. So to know what to say yes to and what to say no to, you need to write out, and I've mentioned this to my video about starting to homeschool, but even if you've been homeschooling for years, and if you've never written out why you homeschool and what is important to you and to your family, what's the goal of this whole homeschool journey anyway? When your kids look back and think about the things that they learned, what is it you want to make sure that they've learned? What is it you want to make sure that they've gathered? What kind of traits as a human do you want them to get? And so what things, curriculum, classes, time sitting down together, what's going to encourage that to happen for you or family? So if you've never written that out before, I highly encourage that you do that. And then you need to revisit it, because again, the children grow, our seasons change, and we need to revisit that often. So it could be sports for you. Maybe that's a big thing for your family. Could be music, Could be just getting your children to read well if you have a dyslexia situation like we do. It could be Bible class. It could be, I don't know. It's very wide among families, but I'm sure you might already have a couple ideas of what it is for your family. It's good to sit with your spouse and discuss that and see if they agree. So once you've written that out, that's going to help you to be able to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. So you'll know what your 1 or 2 things are to plug into your homeschool week. For me, my 2 most important things I feel are to grow kids with good character. And I feel if you're going to have good character, it's going to be godly character. And my other thing is that my kids learn to read well. If you can read well, you can learn anything, because there's so much stuff on the internet. Some of it not true, some of it is true. And you can teach yourself. There's books upon books everywhere, learning all sorts of things. So if you know how to read well, you can learn just about anything. So that is another huge one for me. So if I had a number 3, I would just be to make sure that their math is going well. And I have had those that has been a center for me for years. It has not just been recent, it's been years. So those are things that seem to remain constant. They don't change. The next thing I like to do is to observe my kids and what's their natural flow of things. When are they at their peak? When during the day do they focus better? Can you have a conversation with them better? And when are they just not gonna get something done? Maybe you have a child that doesn't get up very quickly. They have a hard time getting out of bed and a hard time waking up and a hard time getting out of their pajamas. Or maybe you have a child that gets up right away and they're all dressed and ready to go. So you want to do school with the children that are ready, and then give the other child a chance to get ready, so that not everybody's waiting for this one person. Or maybe you have a toddler that would like your attention first thing in the morning. That used to be the situation with us when my youngest was a toddler. He wanted my attention first thing in the morning, and if he got it, even if it was 5-10 minutes, we did a little preschool worksheet, I read him a book, then he's fine for the rest of the day. He would leave me alone and let me do school with the rest of the kids. But if I didn't spend that 5 or 10 minutes with him in the morning, he's going to be coming in every 5 minutes asking me for something. So just pay attention to the needs of your kids. Also, maybe you might have a nap time for somebody. That might be a good time to get the older kids' things done. Just see what the ebb and flow is of your family. So observe that. It works a lot better if you go with the natural flow of your family. You won't have so much that you're up against. Okay, so once you figure that out, another good thing is, when are you at your best? When do you have the most patience? When you have the most patience, it's probably the best time for you to deal with your most challenging child or your most challenging subject. Maybe somebody is in tears whenever they do math. That might be when you are most patient, is the time to sit down with that child and just go through math nice and steady and slow and figure it out. So that having mama be at her best is really important too. Okay, so once you've figured out those things, then you can start writing down a schedule. So the first thing you would put in is anything that is not movable. So any co-ops you've signed up for, or any classes or Bible studies or whatever that you've decided to let into your homeschool week. Go ahead and put them in there first, because you need to work around those. Then you need to, then you can start with what's important to you. So I said Bible class was important to me, so I just put that first thing every morning. I want to do Bible class first thing every morning with my kids. Even if they went to public school or private school or whatever, I would still sit down and do Bible class or devotional of some type as a family together, just because I've always found it to be something important. It's foundational for your character and for many of those growing traits. So Bible class, and then reading for me was also important. So I plugged in Barton Reading was one of the first things I made sure everybody got in there. 2 hours of Barton per week is what she suggests. So you can break that up however you need to. If you do 1 hour twice a week, or if maybe you do just a half an hour 4 times a week, however that works out for you. So let's see here. So yeah, I did the Barton, and then I plugged in math. And then you plug in your other subjects, because your other subjects they're more fluid. They'll kind of ebb and flow a little bit better than the other subjects can. And don't forget, you've got 2 semesters, you've got quarters that you're working with. So like last semester we did some health, and I had 2 of the kids doing science. I had the other 2 doing health. They did them at the same time because 2 of them needed my attention and 2 of them did not. So while one didn't need my attention, I went with the other group who did. So you do that in one semester, and then you switch and do the other subjects the next semester, so that it's not so. When I first did homeschooling, I kind of had unrealistic expectations, and I tried to do like a public school, like every subject, every day. I was running myself rampant, and I was getting crabby, and it was just not worth it. So save yourself the stress and look at your state law and see what it says. Most state laws don't say how much time you need to spend teaching history or how much time you need to spend teaching science. Regardless, you do need to spend some time doing that, but let's make sure you don't feel the pressure of having to overdo it. Okay, so I like to live somewhere between being firm and being flexible. If I'm too firm and too rigidy, I get crabby and stressed and not a happy mommy, not a happy home. If I'm too flexible, nothing gets done. So I really need the structure of a schedule, but I also need to stay very flexible. So stay somewhat flexible too, and know that life happens, because we're dealing with children, and things just happen. So when you look at my schedules behind me, I've got 3 examples of 3 different kind of days that you might have. Notice I do not have times on this schedule. So this middle schedule is going to be the example of just a normal basic day, what it would look like. Notice I have no times listed here because I don't really go according to the clock. I do know I need to start my school day by 9 o'clock, or we might not make it in time, or it's going to be bumped way down to 4:30. So I know to start by 9. And I do have lunch here, so we do know that there's going to be a point where I want to get this stuff done before lunch. But I just don't go with the clock, because what if one of my children is having troubles on math? I want to sit there with them and help them work out their problem with math. But maybe they had a day while all 3 of them had a review sheet. Bam, they're done. Good. Move on to the next thing. And if that happens and they do get a lot done that day, and we're not at lunch, but we were done here, I just go on to the next subject. You don't have to be constricted by time. So that's where my flexibility comes in. So here I have Bible class, because again, I said that was important to me. Always have it done first thing in the morning. And then I have my math, the math for the child's 2, 3, and 4. I wanted you to note here that these are different colors because I color code my children. Child number 1 is purple, child number 2 is blue, child number 3 is pink, and child number 4 is orange. I even do that in my lesson plans, and it really helps to know what I'm doing and when. But so anyway, you'll see that 3 of my children have math. I do my math at the same time because I use Matthew C. And if I try not to have more than one child have a new concept worksheet at one time, because that's when I need to really teach. Otherwise, if they're just kind of doing a review, I just need to be close to them, but not really right there. I would just want to make sure that they're getting it, and I'm available if they have questions, but that I don't have to be right there. So that's why I can do 3 of them at the same time. If I am teaching a new concept to a child, I'll have them in our schoolroom. We're blessed and we have a schoolroom. And then I'll have the other children doing just a review page, sitting at the dining room table, doing their homework. And I'll come in and check on them and then come back and work with the child with the new concept. So it's nice to have another spot that you can have children go into separate rooms sometimes if somebody's being more sluggish, or you need to really stay with one person, but make sure another person's getting their stuff done. That way you can have more than one thing going on at the same time. and it gets things done a little bit quicker. So yes, 3 of them at the same time. Notice child number 1 is not on here for math. That's because she does math at our high school, our public high school. She takes 2 classes there. So, and then I put child number 4 does Barton Reading, okay? And then we have lunch. And then child number 2 has Barton Reading. Child number 2 has a very secure spot right here. For years now, I have put him to do reading right after lunch. He just needs that very consistent lunch reading. Got it. You know, it's just good for him. That's how he's wired. So he gets his spot right here pretty much every year. And then I have child 1 reading and child 1 health. Now, this right here is more flexible, and I move it around sometimes. Like for a couple days a week, we do this. But sometimes, like there's a 1 day a week. My first child is from my first marriage, and she sees her father 1 day a week during the weekday. And so that particular day, I'm going to have something else right here. Like I'm going to have somebody else's science or somebody else do reading here. Just so you know, you can exchange these in and out sometimes. But this is a basic idea of what it looks like on a basic day for me. And then a basic day, but not a basic week. I'll show you these other 2. So this one here, it says flexible here. I don't know how well you can read these words, but it says flexible here. You need to have some time within your schedule that if something doesn't go your way, you'll go, okay, that's one of the less important things. I'll pull that out, or I'll put that at the end of the day, or we'll just add that onto tomorrow's schedule, you know, so that you're not so rigid on some things. Some things are a must. Other things need to be flexible. Try to give yourself some flexible time every day because life happens. We're dealing with children here. And even as adults, life doesn't always happen the way we plan, right? So, okay. So let me show you what it looks like. Let's do this one first, actually. Let me show you what it looks like when you have an event or a class or a co-op that happens, and it's right in the middle of the day. I have one of those. And it happens right around lunchtime, which isn't very convenient, but what that person is doing is well worth it. So we do it anyway. So it's right around lunchtime. So that means I have to pack a lunch, and because we have a little bit of a ways to go and people eat their lunches in the car. So notice I have no Bible class here. Even though Bible is very important to me, we are getting it 4 other days a week, and I am being sure to do it just within our lifestyle. So they're going to get it. It's going to be fine. So then I do reading with my 4th child to make sure that he's had enough reading. And then I prepare for my outing. I make our lunches. I make sure everything's all ready. And then we go and have lunch and do our thing, come home. And then child 2 has science. Child 3 has history. And child 1 has homework that she needs to do. Remember, she's a junior in high school. She has homework she needs to do, so I know she's doing something that she should be doing, and I will be checking on her to make sure she's getting it done. So I'm really teaching these 2 classes and this class. Also, I wanted to mention with this flexible thing right here, that if maybe you have a little time but not a lot, I can change this maybe for a Barton game or for a Barton just reading a story. You know, I try not to do that a lot, but again, keep the flexible idea in your head because it needs to happen sometimes. But this is what happens when it's like right over the lunch hour. This is what happens. You can have your event and then lunch and then my core subjects, math, reading. Or if it's flipped, maybe it's after lunch, I would just flip it around. They would do math first thing in the morning. Actually, if I flipped it around, I would try to put Bible in here. Even just reading them a verse, or simply, has anybody been praying for anything? Let's take some prayer requests. Just stick it in there. And it just takes you 5 minutes to pray. And then on you go to math. So this is the example, especially for you guys who do Barton. This is the example of how I'm getting in all the children. So notice there's 1, 2, 3 just on this day. I try to do that most days. I try to have, see, this is half day and there's 2 kids. There's at least 1 child here. Child number 3 is my very mildly dyslexic child. And so I only do Barton with her twice a week. because she doesn't need it as badly as the other children do, and also because we cover a lot more material in a very much shorter time than we do with the other children who need it more, 3 or 4 times a week. So sometimes it can be complicated to get in the Barton or to get in certain subjects that you are really needing, but it can be done. And this may seem kind of daunting, but once you write it all out and you actually go through the steps, when I write it down, sometimes I get like almost a panic attack. But when you're going through it and it becomes natural on the flow, you'll get it. It's good. Okay. I don't like making videos that are too long, and I see I'm already reached 20 minutes here. So if you have watched all of this, thank you so much. I hope that this has helped you out. If you have any questions, please be sure to comment, ask the question. I'll do my best to answer it for you. And I think that's all I have for today. So thank you for watching.